Hello there and welcome once again. This is Jennifer McGuire. So today I thought I would share with you a type of card that's been around for quite some time. It's called a peekaboo card, and I will show a few different variations. I think it's best to first look at the card to see how it works. It is just a basic 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card, but when you open it, you can see the image changes out in the little window there. I actually have 3 different versions of this card today, but they're all based on the same basic design, which I'll start with first. It's actually a very simple card to make, and if you guys are liking it, maybe I'll do another video on ideas to step the card design up a little bit and still have that fun peekaboo look. Okay, let's get started by making the card itself. It's the same for all 3 versions. And for this, you need 3 pieces of cardstock. I used white heavyweight cardstock, but you can use whatever cardstock you may have. Now I'm actually going to put a little piece of Post-it tape on each of these so I remember which is the front, which is the inside, and which will be the back. You don't need to do this if you don't want to. I thought it would be helpful in the video. You could also just put like a F, I, or B with a pencil on each if that is helpful to you. Okay, so let's start with the front piece. This needs to be 4 1/4 by 8 1/4 inches. And again, these pieces will result in a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card, which is pretty typical. Okay, so now on this 4 1/4 by 8 1/4 inch piece, you need to score at 2 3/4 inches. So I just put a simple score line in, and then we'll fold and reinforce that. So this kind of looks like a note card with the back chopped off a little bit, and that's okay. That's what we need for the front piece of our card. Okay, so now let's go to the inside piece. The inside piece needs to be 4 1/4 by 8.5 inches, so just a little bit longer than the last piece. Again, this will be for the inside. This one you're going to score right down the middle at 4 1/4 inches. So I'll do a score line right there at 4 1/4. Then I will fold this in half. And what I end up with is actually a square note card, a small 4 1/4 inch square note card. This will be the piece that goes inside of our card. So there you can see it looks like just a little mini square note card. Okay, now our third piece for this card design, the back piece. This is the smallest of all the pieces. It is 4 1/4 by 5 3/4 inches. Now on this one, we're going to do a score at 5.5, and this will create a tiny little flap on the right-hand side. I'm using my little score buddy here, and I'll do a little score line here at the 5.5 mark. And again, you'll end up with a tiny little flap there. So this piece will serve as the back of our card. I'll just go ahead and fold this over and reinforce it with my bone folder. And there we have our back piece. Now, if you are interested in these measurements in centimeters, I will do my best to convert them in the description below. However, I'll also give a link for a site where you can do conversions of any inches to centimeters. So that'll be in the description too. Okay, so we have our 3 pieces, the front, inside, and back. And again, those words are just on there with a little sticky tape, and it's just to help you in this video. Let's go ahead and create a pretty basic peekaboo card design. When you open this one, the dog switches to a cat. Now in creating the peekaboo card, I start with the front piece first, and I'm going to die cut a circle towards the top right corner. You can die cut the circle anywhere on that right side. I just recommend staying on the right half of this panel. The flap to this piece is over on the left. So I'm taping my little circle die there, and I'll run this through my die cut machine. This is about a 2-inch circle die that I'm cutting here. So I'll run this through my die cut machine, and we'll end up with a perfect little window there. You could do a square, rectangle, heart, whatever you want. You'll also need to die cut that same circle in the same spot on the inside piece. So what I'll do is I'll take my front piece and line it up over the inside piece. So I'm matching the top right corner there, matching up right along that right-hand edge. And then I will trace the circle window onto the inside piece. Now there are a few ways you can do this, but I thought this was the easiest to show in a video. So I'm using a pencil to trace it on there. And now I know where I need to die cut that circle on the inside piece. Remember, this inside piece is actually a little folded card. I'm lining up that circle there just to help me position my circle die in the right spot. So I'll just pop my circle die right over it, and then I'll run this through my die cut machine also. Now this time I'm going to keep this inside piece folded, so it's like a little folded card, and run it through the die cut machine so that the circle die will cut through both layers. So see how it's folded there? Now the die doesn't actually cut through both layers because this is so thick. So it cut through the front layer. That's okay. I just open the card and I'll take the die and line it up with the indentation that the die made. You can kind of see it there, and run it through the die cut machine again. So now I will have a circle window cut in our front piece and both of our inside flaps here, and they all line up nicely. Now all of our card pieces are ready, so it's time to do some stamping. I'm using the Your Next Stamp Pawsome Pups stamp set. I am just head over heels for these cute little dog images and sentiments. And then for all those cat stampers, we have the Your Next Stamp Cool Cats stamp set. These are some of the cutest cat images I've ever seen, with some really clever sentiments to go with them. I'll use this set on this card and in another later in this video. I'm also using a Your Next Stamp Starburst stamp set. I've used this in a video before and I'll link to it here, and I thought it'd be fun in the background. Okay, so I have my pieces. We're going to start with the front panel. This is the front one with the window cut there on the right. Putting it into my MISTI stamping tool. You do not need to use a MISTI stamping tool for this. I just don't want to mess it up at this point, so that's why I'm using it. I have my L-shape creative corner, and I use that to help me line up sentiments straight when using my MISTI stamping tool. So I'm helping to position my sentiment right under the window, and I'll stamp this with black ink. I also stamped some of the Starburst with a variety of colors of Gina K Designs Ink, and here you can see the front panel ready to go. Okay, now it's time to move to the inside panel. Now on this one, in the inside, we'll do any stamping that we want to show when the card is open. So I again am going to stamp a sentiment right underneath the window, and then we can also stamp some of the Starbursts. Now this time I'll show the Starburst stamping. I used Gina K Design Inks. I just like how bright and vivid her colors are. So I stamped each one with a different color. I did place all of the stamps in my stamping tool so I would know the location, but I'm only inking one up at a time and stamping one at a time so that they can all be different colors. And all of the stamping could be done with an acrylic block. Okay, so I'm also adding a sentiment in the inside. This one says Pawsome. That's what I really liked about these particular dog and cat stamp sets, is there are many different sentiments included, so you can have one sentiment on the outside and one on the inside. Next I have my stamped cat and dog, and I colored them with Copic markers. I did that while on the drive to take our daughter to college, so I don't have that on video, but they're here and ready to go, and I did basic coloring. I also have two circle dies. The smaller one is the one that I used to die cut the windows on the pieces that we did earlier. The other circle die is slightly bigger, and that's the one that I'm going to use to cut out these two images. So again, this is a slightly bigger circle die than the one that I used earlier. I'll run that through our die cut machine, and we'll have two pieces ready to go for the card. And here I'll show you that this circle is in fact bigger than the one on the card. I find that makes it easier for the card to work. You could also just cut out a square if you wanted to. Okay, so now we have our back piece. We're finally using this one. You can see that little flap is kind of flapped up there. On that flap, we're going to put some strong adhesive. Now I'm using Be Creative tape. Any kind of super strong adhesive would work here. But I find this 1/8 inch Be Creative tape is really handy to have for any kind of interactive card that you want to make. So I'll go ahead and remove the release paper, and we're going to put this flap up against that inside card piece, that one that looks like a square with the circles cut. So I'm taking the flap and I'll line it up with the back edge of our inside card piece. So here's the inside card piece, and that back edge is going to line up right on top of that. Now, there are a few different ways to do this, and I kind of fiddled around until I realized the best way for me to do it was to place the edge right over the flap by looking from above. And there we have the beginning of our interactive card. It looks like a funny little Z fold right now, but I promise it will come together. But that little flap is adhered to the back right edge of that inside card. And again, I can remove my little tape pieces. Okay, so now we can add the front piece to this. And this is very easy. So on the front of this inside piece, I'm just going to put a bunch of dry adhesive. You can use any adhesive here. And then we'll take the front panel and line it up so that the windows line up nicely and also along the right edge. This is the only gluing that you'll have to do for the card design itself. Once you have this pressed into place, you see that flap sticking out on the left? I'm going to slow it down here so you can see. I'm going to tuck that flap into the card, just push it inside, and there we have our peekaboo card design. It's really quite easy to do, and this is the same thing I'll do on the other cards too. Now it's time to just add our stamped images in place, and then we'll be ready to go. I find it best to start with the image that you want to see when the card is closed, so the one that will be here in this open window. In this case, I'm using the dog circle. So I'm putting adhesive on the back of this. This will get glued to the back piece that we created. So when you open up the card, we're going to flap it to the right-hand side here. It'll go on that back panel. But I want to make sure I line it up with the circle window. So this is what I like to do. Put this down. You can see the adhesive is facing up. Once I'm happy with where it is, I can peek to the other side if I want to. I just close the back panel onto it. That transfers it to the back, and you can see it is lined up with our little circle window. Now you'll notice that that little flap gets caught on it when you try to close it. See, it's kind of catching along that circle edge. That's okay. I've got a trick for you that I'll show you in just a moment. Let's go ahead and add our little cat image. And you'll do this when you have the card completely open. So I'm putting adhesive on the back of the cat. We're going to keep our card open here. And I'm going to tuck it right behind this window. And this will glue that cat to the flap that moves when we open and close the card. So you can see you switch from the dog to the cat when you simply open the card. Now remember how I said it gets caught here when you try to move it? The edge of that flap gets caught up against the die cut circle of the dog. Well, here's an easy trick to avoid that. You could have made a bigger circle, but this works great. I just put a little piece of Scotch tape along the edge of this circle die cut. You could do 2 pieces if you want to. Turns out 1 is all you need. But now it'll slide right over that die cut, and you can see how easy the peekaboo card is to open and close. And because we put our circle window towards the top corner, we have some room below it to write our message on the inside of the card. So there you have a pretty basic peekaboo card design, and I thought I'd show you a couple ways to change this up so you can get new looks. For this one, I put the sentiment in the window and the images around it. And the best part about this is the card itself and the circle windows is exactly the same as what I did on the last card. So I have all my pieces ready, the front, the inside, and the back. Remember, I die cut a circle here, and then I die cut 2 pool colored circles that are slightly larger to go behind these windows. So everything else is the same as the last card. Instead of the stamped dog and cat circles, I'm doing sentiment circles. So I have some pool cardstock circles here, and I wanted to add my sentiments to it. On the outside, it says not feline well. My sentiment was too long for my circle. So I cut the words apart so that I could stack them next to each other on the little circle. So I position those into my MISTI stamping tool and come up with black ink and stamp them onto the circle. And now they fit nicely. For the inside of the card, my sentiment was very much too long, so I cut it up into 3 pieces. Now cutting your stamp, as long as you're cutting between the image, is okay. You can always mount it onto an acrylic block how it was originally intended. And I find that by cutting my sentiment stamps to be shorter, I'm able to use them in more ways. So I'll go ahead and stamp these words with black ink onto the circle. And this one says, I think you need a paramedic, which just cracks me up. So we have our 2 circles ready. Now I have all of my pieces ready to go, and I thought I'd show you the assembly process one more time. It's the same as we did last time. So I have my little flap here that I've put my strong double-sided tape on, and I'll take the inside card and line up the back edge of that onto that adhesive flap. So I'm just going to line those two pieces up, figure out the best way for you to do it to get right along that edge. And we have our first part of our card assembled. Now we can put some adhesive on the front of the inside piece, then take the front panel and line up the windows. So once we have that pressed into place, we can tuck that flap into the card and we have our peekaboo card ready. Okay, so I'm putting adhesive onto the back of our sentiment that we want to show through when the card is closed. Then I will take that, and again, I'm going to make it so I can see it through the window nicely, and then glue it onto that back panel. So I need it to show through there. So I'm going to kind of tuck it in here with my fingers so I can make sure that it's centered here. And then I'll close the back panel onto it, and I can be sure that it is positioned perfectly to show through that window. Now remember, we don't want that flap to catch on the edge of that circle, so I'm putting a piece of Scotch tape on there. You could instead use a bigger piece of pool cardstock instead of the circle that extends more to the left on that back panel, but I find the tape is easy enough. And now it slides open perfectly. So now it's time to add the other sentiment, and this is the one that will show when the card is open. I put adhesive on the back of it. I'll open up the card and hold it right behind that window and make sure I get it nice and centered. And then I'll press down, and this adheres it to that flap that moves when we open and close the card. So in this peekaboo card, we have a sentiment that changes as you open and close the card. Okay, now it's time to add some little images. I colored some of the cats from that Cool Cats set that I showed you earlier, and I cut them out by hand because I didn't have the coordinating dies. I also love fussy cutting. Most people say they don't like it. Maybe I'm the only one who finds it somewhat therapeutic. But I have it in my MISTI stamping tool here just to hold everything down as I use my Gina K Connect glue to adhere the cats in place. So I have 3 cats on the outside, and then I stamped some little red hearts from this Your Next Stamp Magical Pony stamp set. I use this cute set a lot because there are tiny little hearts and stars and like confetti, and it's perfect for adding here and there on cards. But then I realized I had chopped off all the whiskers on my cats, so I'm going in with a black pen and drawing the whiskers back in. And I'm looking at the stamp set so I know where the whiskers should go. Now it's time to add the cat that goes on the inside. This cat looks like he's laughing. It cracks me up. And I'll position him to go right over the window when you open up the card, but I don't want him showing from the inside, so I made sure that he was hidden. And here we have the final card. I did use my black glaze pen on the eyes and nose of my cat so they had a little bit of shine. But besides that, I didn't add any embellishments. So when you open up the card, you have the cat laughing on the inside. And I'm hoping that this will cheer up my friend who's been sick lately. So there you have another way to create a peekaboo card design. Next, I thought I'd show you how you can do a peekaboo card that is top folding, and it works just the same way, but we just turn it to the side. So here is the Your Next Stamp Party Pets stamp set. I've used this one before too. I'll link to that video. But I used the balloon image there in the middle, and I just cut the balloon off to use with this Your Next Stamp Unicorns Rock stamp set. Been wanting to use this one for some time now. It's been sitting on my desk, and I thought today's card would be the perfect opportunity. And I like how the unicorns are all doing different things. So it seems a little bit different than a lot of the unicorn sets that I've been seeing out there lately. Now I wanted this unicorn that's holding a rainbow balloon, but instead of the rainbow balloon, I decided to do a big red balloon. So I'm only inking up part of this image, only the unicorn itself, and I'll stamp that, and you'll see that all of the left-hand side of him is not there. So all I'm going to do is draw it in with a black pen. It's pretty easy to do since it's only part of the image. And then I can put whatever I want in his hand. And this is a great way to get new looks out of stamps you have. I went ahead and created the front, inside, and back pieces just like I did on the first example. However, this time I centered the circle die cut along the edge. I also die cut circles from my unicorn colored pieces, and those circles are slightly bigger than the window circles I created. So here, let's go ahead and assemble it again. I think it's best to see the assembly process a few times. I put adhesive on that flap. Now I'm taking the back of the inside piece and lining those edges up, whatever way seems best for you to put that little flap on the back edge. Now we can go ahead and add the front panel again by putting adhesive on this inside piece and lining up the circle windows. So here you can see that that circle is still all the way on the edge, but it's centered between the top and the bottom, whereas before I put it towards the top. Okay, so I adhere one of my circle unicorn pieces into the inside of the card. I had to chop a little bit off the bottom since it was a little bit big. So this one gets glued to that back panel, so it shows through when the card is closed. And again, I'll have to put a little piece of tape along that top edge. But first, let's go ahead and glue this other unicorn piece in. So we'll open up the card. I have adhesive on the back of this, and we'll just slide it right behind that die cut window. Now this circle is again too large for the card. I actually could probably leave it, but I think it's best to go ahead and chop off the extra. So I'm just going to cut right along that flap, and there we have our card that creates a top folding peekaboo. In here I'm putting a little piece of Scotch tape so it doesn't get caught up as we open and close. Now think about this. You could put different pattern papers on this card. You could stamp backgrounds. I tried to keep mine pretty basic today, but you can change up the design however you want. And here we have the top folding version, and it was created just like we did with the cards earlier. So I wanted to add a balloon into his hand, so I'm using my T-ruler and a black pen to draw the string. And then I have the balloon from that Party Pets stamp set that I colored and cut out, and I'll glue that right on top with some foam tape. I also added a sentiment to the outside of the card and to the inside of the card. And I used little star images from that magical Ponies stamp set. And I stamped those with white ink around the balloons just for a little bit of interest, but nothing too distracting. I colored in the horns of my unicorn with a glitter pen just so they had some sparkle, and used the black glaze pen on the eye. So there you have a way you can create peekaboo card top folding. Okay, so I hope this inspires you to give these peekaboo cards a try. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you want to see another version, like a stepped up version of these peekaboo cards? I will link all of my supplies in my YouTube description below. I have everything there for you, but you can go to my blog for a lot more information. If you could, I'd love a thumbs up on this video so YouTube knows that you'd like to see more videos from me. You can also hit subscribe. Thanks for spending some time with me. I'll see you again soon, and I hope you have fun trying these cards out.